Hello, good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday. I have no freaking idea what day it is. I was off today. I had all my fun stuff to do today, and for some reason, I was thinking it was Sunday, and it's Tuesday, and yeah, my day's all off. So that's how we're going to start tonight off. We're already screwed up. What else is new, right? So we're going to start off naming off the sponsors. We have Melone Management with Lisa Malone. Do you have a project that's getting ready to start, or do you have a project that's running and it's getting to be too much, and you need some help promoting that project while you work on your stuff? Get a hold of Melone Management. We also have 183 Degree Studios with Kara Nicole and Alfred Trujillo. Doobie doobie doo. Check out their awesome stuff. Fire Bitch 2 is available now on Indiegogo on demand. And you can check out their stuff at 183degreestudios.com, which is also in the link above. We have Codex Entertainment LLC with Luis Torres and his super duper sweet project, Lily the Demoness, with Chapter 5 dropping in the near future, here in the next month or so. And you can also check out Whispers in Necropolis and Ace and Starlet. We also have Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins. Number 5 is dropping April 28th. That Get Notified link is available in the links above in the video description, as well as the Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins Etsy shop, where you can get all caught up on those issues that you missed. We also have Outpost 426 Studios with CB Zane and Michael Shoemaker with their super sweet project. We have Scorpiana and Into the Suck. And they have the Black Rabbit project coming out soon, which looks pretty dope. They keep teasing us with it. I can't wait to see what it is. And we have, last but not least, we have DPopp Customz with Dustin Poppins. Do you have that print that needs some dusting off and some jazzing up? Check him out. He can take your print, put it in a lighted box where you can hang it on your wall and have some really cool stuff. So without further ado, after that big mouthful of that I finally made it through without going, we're going to bring out Webb. No, we're not, because the computer just froze up. So hold on. We're going to try this again. See? Told you it was going to happen, Webb. Skynet's taking over.
Skynet, yeah, we were talking pre-show about how the Skynet, the robot uprising, it's not going to be Terminators coming to kill us. It's going to be the computer figuring out every single digital interaction that's important and screwing all of those up, leaving all the other ones alone. I've never had a file corrupted that wasn't important.
That's right.
Never in my life.
You'll have like the oldest, most obsolete file, like just something stupid that you don't even want, and it'll work for like forever. You could like accidentally run it through the ringer, and then all of a sudden it's just like, yeah, I don't think this is going to work anymore, and then it works just fine.
But, yeah, 100%. The computer knows.
The computer knows.
Skynet's out there, and it's trying to bring about the end of the human race through annoyance.
Through annoyance. Hold on, I'm sending out the last few shares here. Give me just a second. So yeah, it's been insane. Everything that could go wrong with trying to get this digital copy and get things sent over to the printer and get things done that need to be done to get this digital copy sent out has gone wrong. Like we were talking about before, the formatting of the pictures, and then the computer's like, "We're sorry, we don't recognize this as a proper file." And it's like, yes, it is a proper file. I can promise you that. And that's it. I got it. Sorry about that. All right. Now that I got it shared out, this we won't even talk about what this thing's doing over here. It's being crazy, but that's neither here nor there. So let's talk about you a little bit, man. So you not only edit books, you also have a book that just released, High Treason.
Yes, High Treason League. It is now available on Comixology. If you're a fan of comics with a bit of an Eastern influence, manga as they call it, you can check that out. I think you'll be really interested in that sort of thing. It's got its main influences are Hunter x Hunter and One Piece. So anyone who's a fan of those things will be a fan of that. Also, my personal favorite manga of all time is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and even though this book isn't really a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure kind of book, there will definitely be little bits and pieces in there if you like that series. Certainly, the fashion sense of the main characters is heavily inspired by Araki's sort of balls to the wall style of designing characters.
And Ryan came in and said shared, and he has a bunch of questions. We'll get to those in a second. So, I like to start out the show talking about inspirations and where people started out at. So, as far as getting into comics and sort of the scene, at what age were you drawn to comics? Like, what was the first comic that you seen that you're like, wow, this looks really cool?
Well, the way I got into comics, I as a kid didn't have a whole lot of access to comics, and never saw the inside of a comics shop until I was a full-grown man. So really all I had was I found just like a box of my dad's old comic books down in my grandparents' basement. And that's where I got started. But even then, I enjoyed reading them, and I had sort of, I thought that they were cool, and I always thought, man, it would be awesome to make a superhero, but I got other things to do with my life, right?
I don't have time to be a nerd. I got cool things to do, chicks to pick up.
Look at how pretty I am, right? I gotta go out there and do real person shit.
That's right.
But when I was in high school, and this is the part of my origin story where it just goes completely off the rails, because I would love to tell you that the thing that inspired me was like one of the greats, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing or something. No, I had a friend share with me a rinky-dink little webcomic called Elgunis Shive that I probably wouldn't even like today, thinking back on it. But the one thing that comic did for me is it made me realize, in comics, you can do literally whatever the hell comes into your head. And that's when it sort of clicked. Comic books are the medium with the biggest spectacle to investment ratio of any medium. If you want to make a video game and you want to have something really cool happen in the video game, that's going to cost a lot of money. If you want to make a movie, even more so. I mean, it took Hollywood how long to make a believable Superman? But in comics, having a person fly through space is basically the same as having a person sit at a table and have a conversation in terms of investment. So you can do anything. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we all know my movies would be ridiculous with all the explosions. It'd be billions just for the explosions,
Absolutely. You'd have to get Michael Bay on it, and nobody wants to work with him.
No, but with a comic book, you could just like do a whole page of explosions, and it's like $3 versus $3 million.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can write whatever I want on a script, and the artist has to make that happen. It's great. So yeah, I sort of got into comics as a way to be like, okay, this is the most effective way to get all the cool stuff that's going on in my mind down in a format that people can look at it. I don't have to deal with a whole team. I could just, have an artist. I tried for a time to learn how to draw my own stuff, but that wasn't happening. I practiced for years, and I became barely better than the average person who hasn't practiced at all. But it allows me to with the minimal amount of interference, take a cool thing from my head and put it in a format that people can see. And that's what I love about the medium. It's great.
So you hopped in, you're like, man, how can I make these great stories come to life without costing a whole bunch of money? And it's like comic books are a really cool way to do that. So I'm going to try doing that. So what got you into editing? So I know you've done some editing for a few other books.
Oh, well, that was sort of something that just kind of came about by accident. I work as an editor for NRG Comics with my friend Alex Daw, and we just sort of met each other by happenstance back when I was sort of making original characters on the DeviantArt, which is I don't know, it's sort of a meme at this point, but um, I was doing that and he was doing that, and we were both making superheroes, and we just started talking to each other, and eventually I started trying to help him out with his characters, and that sort of rolled its way into me becoming the editor because I happen to, I don't know, I've always had a pretty good sense of the English language. And then, you know, I now I did not then, but I now have a degree in English. So um, I figured I'd, you know, polish up some of his scripts a bit, and that's how I got into it. It was never a thing I was planning to do, but you know, sometimes life happens.
So you're like, man, I'm gonna be like this playboy, you know, I'm gonna go out and do this super cool job, and you're like, well, I fell into being an editor, and now I'm a
Yeah,
comic book creator.
the most thankless job in all of comics, being the editor. The one where people only notice when you screw up. Actually, fun story. Um, in the original Empress Mother Earth's Handmaiden books from NRG, um, I went through, you know, did my whole editing sweep. And this is actually, this actually goes back to the whole Skynet thing we were talking about earlier. Um, I'm not sure what happened, but for some reason, we did the files that ended up at the printers were not the ones with the final edits on them. So
You get these books back, and you're going through, and you're like, wait a minute, we fixed this.
yeah, I'm like, I definitely fixed that. So that's one I can't put on my resume because, you know, how are you going to explain that? But that's how it always goes, right?
And that's the worst thing, you know, and as being a creator, that's on the opposite of editing. That's the worst part of it, is when you get it back and you're like, you went through the book like 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and you're like, you know,
Yeah.
and you go through and you're like, you swapped a B with a V because you were, you know, just flying through it. And then like when you went back and read through it, just like your brain automatically fixed it as you went by it. And you're like, this editor has to think I'm like the stupidest person in the world because I spelt this with a B instead of a V, which I know it's not true, but I actually had a couple of good laughs going back through and re-editing the book again. I was just like, how did I miss this? It was like, you know, a deer in the headlights. I just went, you know, went right on by it. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, everything's good here. And so it's a fun time going through and seeing what the editor sees, and they're like, I'm not quite sure what you meant here, but I think this is what you meant. And it's like, yeah, that's totally what I meant. I don't know where I was going here, but okay.
Well, I mean, you know, it's funny how you become blind to your own errors. In High Treason League, there was a speech bubble where the sentence clearly needed the word "you" somewhere in the middle of it, and the word "you" was missing. And I looked over it 2, 3, 5 times, never saw it. I show it to a friend of mine once I've signed off on everything. I'm like, okay, it's ready, it's done. And just like before sending it off to Comixology, I showed it to a friend of mine, and she's like, hey, you're missing the word "you" in this sentence. I'm like, God damn.
How did I make such a simple mistake?
So what I had to do, because you know, I didn't want to bother my artist again about it. I already signed off on everything. Contractually, his job's done. So what I had to do was I just like went into a photo editor, cut out the word "you" from another speech bubble, pasted it on there, sort of shifted the words around.
So you cut and pasted the word spread out, and you added "you" cut from another book.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you wouldn't you'd never notice if you weren't looking for it, but if somebody wants to like search through the book, I'm sure. I mean, I had to sort of freehand it because I wasn't sure what the exact like kerning or anything was. So if somebody like goes through the book and measures out the pixels and figures out, where the word is supposed to actually fall on the line, I think they'll be able to find it.
So that's everybody's job. If you go to Comixology and you buy the book, you're gonna look for the U that looks out of place. Where's the U?
Yeah, go find that. That's your homework. Find the U that is not in alignment with the rest of the text.
That's like the Where's Waldo of High Treason League. That's great. That's hilarious. And I can totally, understand that because there was so much stuff that, I went through and it was just like, simple grammatical or, spelling mistakes that you become blind to your own work. And that's why it's always good to, send it to an editor, have them edit it, get it back, go through and fix all the edits, read it again, send it to somebody else and say, hey, here, read this. And, and see if they see anything that I missed, that the editor missed, that I missed going back through. Because, once you make the edits, that note and everything's gone. And it's like, you still could have missed something there because you got interrupted. Like my wife comes down here and asks me something and I'm in the middle of making a correction. And then I go back and I think I already did it. And so you got this like sentence that is missing 2 words all of a sudden, and somebody goes back and reads this and like, what the hell is this guy smoking when he wrote this book? So what is High Treason about? Let's get down to the nitty gritty. What is that about, and how did you come up with the idea for it?
High Treason League is a story that I actually came up with because I didn't want a story that was that interesting. I failed miserably. I decided I wanted to try making a webcomic, despite the fact that, as I mentioned before, I'm not like the best artist. So I'm like, I've got all these good ideas, but I don't want to waste my good ideas on this webcomic with bad art. Fool that I was, for I forgot that, whenever I have an idea, my brain's just going to keep working on it forever. And so what ended up happening is over time, this like gets fleshed out into this whole world with a well-developed magic system and let's see. Yes, Luis, however you pronounce that, my artist, Levon Mason, aka Leo Svan, who you can find on Twitter under that handle, did that. Anyway, as I was saying, so I came up with this whole sort of magic system and universe and all these characters. And I'm like, okay, first of all, nobody's paying attention to this webcomic. Second of all, this is actually a good story. And I think it actually needs to be told. And the story is about a world in which it's a feudal system. And at the very top of this feudal system is the World King. Now, the World King has been around, thanks to the way the magic system works. Longevity is a general thing that just happens to people. So he's been in charge for 400 years. And then for whatever reason, he just decides, okay, we've had this hereditary system forever. What's going to happen now is anyone can get into the hereditary system. You can be a noble. You can even be a royal. All you got to do is beat the existing person in combat. And so, of course, this causes a massive rush for power. Everyone's like, okay, now I can just beat somebody up, and legally I can take everything that they're
So it's like Mad Max Thunderdome. Everybody's fighting for power.
And the World King is like, also, by the way, this includes the throne of the World King.
Oh boy.
And he makes this announcement in front of basically a huge group of people from all around the world, which is called Renaria. So all the Renarian, the greatest warriors from Renaria are like, well, shit, we're here right now. Let's take down the World King. So they all try to attack him at once, and he kicks all of their asses. So what ends up happening is that the world sort of falls into a stalemate. There are these really high nobles and royals that are so strong that no one can really do much of anything to them. And then sort of around the edges of the kingdom, there are areas where, you know, the nobles aren't quite as strong. And these places have sort of fallen into chaos as everyone keeps beating up the existing people in power and taking their land and resources and power and everything. And so in this world, 100 years after the law has changed, that's where we meet our protagonists. Kaya, who's a girl who lives in a small village that's ruled over by a tyrannical baron, who makes her harvest the gas from the derigium flowers. The derigium flowers are these flowers that float like balloons sort of above her village, and the gas has healing properties, the gas that keeps them afloat. So she harvests that, and then it's sold to other people, but they're not allowed to use it themselves because it's so valuable that even a little bit of it is more valuable than any of the workers. So even though they're surrounded by these flowers that have healing properties, if somebody gets hurt, that person is screwed. Yes, Danny, that's exactly what happens.
Yep, as usual.
Now, Kaya actually has incredible superhuman strength, but she doesn't really know why. She's just had it since she was little, and it's only gotten stronger over time. But she doesn't know how to fight. So the Baron and his sort of right-hand man, Vanis, who's the main villain of the first book, they can easily defeat her in a fight. She doesn't have a chance against them if she were to try to attack them. So she just sort of goes along to get along. Until one day, Trell, a warrior from outside the village, wanders into town, and he knows how to fight. And he gets into a battle with Vanis, and that sort of starts Kaya on a path of like, you know, okay, maybe I can actually save this village. And so she decides to join up with Trell, but Trell wants to take down the World King. So by joining forces with him, she's sort of joining him on this grander adventure, and they're going to go out into the world and gather a team and find some interesting people and get into some big fights, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
So are you going to plan on printing this eventually, or are you going to stick with webtoons throughout the series, or what are your plans for this project?
I've already submitted it to a print-on-demand store. I don't know when they're going to make it available. It's been submitted for like a month, so and it's just not up for sale yet.
So it will be available on print-on-demand eventually once they get it uploaded.
Eventually. I have actually... One second. I can show you the print copy I have, which will be on sale later.
Danny, I'm glad to see that you're on your last week of probation. So hopefully we'll get to see you join us on the Book of Faces again. Looks like up for probation next week. That's great to hear. It'll probably last 3 days. All right, let me put this on solo layout.
There it is.
Ooh, boy. I love the cover, by the way. You know, all the fire and...
I do too. Levon did an amazing job. There's a shot of what the interior looks like. Just...
All right, hold up a little closer. We're looking for that U.
That's not on that page. There's your first
kidding.
clue. It's not on that page. So anybody, if you're looking for the secret U that's out of alignment, first clue is it's not on the page I showed you.
So how many issues do you have planned for the series? This, like, I know you have this planned as an ongoing series, but do you have like your estimate of how far this is going to go, issue wise?
It's going to be a pretty long story, you know. Hopefully, I don't have like a set amount of issues that I'm planning on, but I know where it's going to end, and I have a general idea of what the arcs in between the beginning and the end are going to be.
How many pages is the book? Is it a standard?
No, it is 52 story pages.
Oh, 52 story pages. Okay.
Yes.
So it's a pretty good sized book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's double length, and it's really cool. So definitely.
So now, as far as when it goes on to print on demand, are you going to offer just the standard cover? Or are you going to have any kind of variants down the road, or do you have any variants that will be available once it goes up or for print on demand?
I don't have any variants at the moment. Maybe I'll come up with some later. First, I want to actually just get the thing available for people to buy.
No, I totally understand. Who did the art for the original cover?
Same as the interior artist, Levon Mason. He did it. He and I are the only two people who are on this project. So,
okay. So who are some of so what, now that you've been into comics for a while and you found your dad's old comics in his basement, do you have any favorite series out there that you enjoy or that you keep current with?
Well, I sort of at some point had kind of a transition from Western to Eastern comics. Not that I, have anything against Western characters. It's just that I'm not as much a fan of modern Marvel or DC or any of that. If I'm going to read something from them, I'm going to probably go back 20, 30 years. But I keep up with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That's my big favorite. And I sometimes hunt around for new things to read. I actually recently read this fun book called Mashal, which is, it's a weird name, but it's basically a dude goes to Hogwarts. I mean, obviously for legal reasons, it's not Hogwarts, but thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, Levon is awesome. He did great work. For legal reasons, it's not Hogwarts, but really it's Hogwarts. There are scenes that are ripped entirely out of Harry Potter. He goes into a magical maze and meets a sphinx, and he has a thing where he's got to make a broom lift into his hand. Only problem is the main character doesn't have any magical abilities. He's just been working out his entire life, and so he's got absurd strength. So when he meets the Sphinx in the maze, he just punches it in the face. It's hilarious. We should talk. I'm starting a new manga style line at Codex. I might very well be interested in that.
Hey,
Sit,
that's one of my sponsors of the show right there, Louis Torres, Codex Entertainment LLC. He's a pretty cool dude. So, like you said, you're into Eastern stuff. He's your man to talk to right there.
yeah, send me a DM at Hopcrop. It's you know, HOPCROP on Twitter, and we can work that out. Because definitely, I have several manga style stories that I want to tell. This is just the first of them, but I've got some really good ones, and I think that having a publisher would be very productive to that end.
So, this one that you're talking about, sorry, I didn't mean to derail you there. So, this one you're talking about, he doesn't have any magical abilities. He just has super strength. I'm just interested in this. You got my
Yeah,
attention.
this is great. It's called Mashal, Magic and Muscle. It's Mashle. It's
Okay.
a it's a manga from Shonen Jump, and have you ever heard of One Punch Man?
Yeah, One Punch Man. Yeah, definitely. I'm huge into anime and manga too. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's basically what if Saitama went to Hogwarts. He's not he's not as strong as Saitama, but it's clear where the inspiration is. He looks like Mob from Mob Psycho 100, except jacked. And but like it's one of those stories where I don't know. Sometimes like originality isn't the most important thing for a story. Nothing in the story is original. The character is clearly taken from One Punch Man or Mob Psycho 100, and he's clearly put into Hogwarts. But
it's like, what if these two worlds collide?
just the absurdity, the absurdity of these two worlds colliding is what makes it fantastic. There's all these wizards that have these cool magical abilities, and this guy is just running around like grabbing people by the face and slamming them so hard into the ground that their heads cause craters. It's amazing, and I love it. And yeah, oh god, I hope it doesn't get canceled because it is just my favorite thing. I always love stories about just dudes that in a world of creative and inventive powers just never forget to punch somebody in the face. There's nothing, no matter how inventive your superpower is, there's nothing as satisfying as a punch to the face.
That's right. And that's one of the things that I hate the worst, is when you get these great series and they get canceled. So like Dead Man Wonderland, I need to get a hold of the manga for that because I love the series. And I know it doesn't really exactly follow along to the actual manga itself, but Dead Man Wonderland was such an awesome show. And I was like looking for season 2 as soon as I finished watching it. And it's like, oh, we're sorry. This was made 5 years ago, and we don't think there's ever going to be a season 2. And I'm like, why? You can't just leave the story untold. So I got to get a hold of those and finish that. But I don't know if you've ever seen or read the manga for that. That is a very, very interesting concept.
I need to read that at some point. I started watching the anime, and then I saw in the comments that it wasn't faithful to the manga and made things worse. And whenever I hear that, I'm just like, I check out, because why would you want to watch something that's the inferior version of a thing?
Well, and sometimes it does work out. Like Full Metal Alchemist, when they passed up the manga and they went on and did the show themselves. You go back and you watch Brotherhood, which they remade after the manga was finished, and they're both really good in their own rights. The original series was phenomenal, and then you go watch the second series, Brotherhood, and it brings in more of a god and devil style tone to the actual show as opposed to the original one. It's like these two brothers just finding a way to bring their mother back, and there's really no heaven or hell mentioned, whereas the second one's like deeply religiously rooted, and it's insane.
Right.
But yeah, they were both really good in that. So sometimes it's not a bad thing, you know. And I do have to appreciate when, you know, sometimes the mangas are finished and they go back and they redo the series and turn it into an anime. It is nice to see something different, because it's like when you read a book or you read a manga or you read something like that, you have this own vision in your mind of what is happening in these parts. And then when you go and watch something that's like directly based off of that, and it just like completely wipes out everything that you had in your mind. And so I like seeing stuff new like that sometimes. But Dead Man Wonderland was insane. And I'll probably go back and read that and go, yeah, this totally doesn't match what was in the anime at all. But, you know, sometimes you can appreciate it. It's not all the time, though. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, sometimes an adaptation can take liberties and make a thing better. It's just, you know, if it takes liberties and makes a thing worse, that's where I start to have issues.
Yeah,
but
you ruin somebody else's idea, and then people don't want to read the original because they're like, "Wow, this sucked."
You know? Yeah, I've had people say to me, you know, like, you should be happy anytime something is adapted, because more of the thing you like is better, right? No. If somebody adapts something that I like and they make it badly, that actually that can prevent an adaptation that's good. Because, you know, some producer is going to be sitting back in his chair counting his money like, all right, this property here has not had a proven track record of people being interested in it, so I'm not going to fund that.
Yep.
And then it's gone. You know, imagine if there had been an actually good Netflix adaptation of Death Note.
Oh my God! Let's not even talk about it. Let's not even talk about it. And the fact that Willem Dafoe was in it, and just like as great as he is, I tried to
such a missed opportunity.
It was, and Willem Dafoe is just great, and I was like, I watched it just because he was in it. I was like hoping at some point it would get better, and I was like, God, what did you guys do to this? What did you do?
It's awful when perfect casting is wasted. You know?
It is.
Like I don't know, maybe this will rustle some jimmies, but Henry Cavill, perfect casting, but I cannot stand the DCEU. Can't stand it. I haven't seen the Snyder cut yet, but I don't think I'd like that either, because I don't like Snyder to begin with. So didn't like yeah, you know, what I really wanted out of Light was, instead of him being like this cold, calculating, paranoid chess master who's squaring off against the other greatest mind in the world, I wanted him to be a dweeb. That's what I really wanted out of life.
So what are some of the other favorites of yours that you have? Like, we already know that, you know, I already got it out that Full Metal Alchemist is one of my favorites. So
Full Metal Alchemist, I need to finish that. I've loved it, and I don't know why I haven't finished it. But
it was one of those ones I came in, like literally I came in probably in episode like 30 of Full Metal Alchemist. And so I had to go back and watch all of it.
I really like Durarara. That's one that I enjoy. I haven't read it, but I watch it as an anime. And unfortunately, it's been a long time since it's been a couple of years since they've had a season. I really hope they'll continue it at some point. Durarara. Durarara. And it's basically it's about this area of, I think, Tokyo called Ikebukuro, and there's just a bunch of weird people who live there. Like, there's a dude who started a gang completely by accident. There's a guy who has super strength because he can, like, he can create an adrenaline rush within himself at any point, and he uses this to like pull lampposts out of the ground and hit people with them. It's fantastic. There's a woman who is a headless Irish fairy. What's it called? I can't remember, unfortunately, but like there's some myth of like a headless fairy from Ireland, and she is that sort of fairy, and she lost her memory and falls in love with this doctor, and she's trying to find her head because she's lost her head. It's just it sort of calls back to what I was talking about earlier. You can do whatever the hell you want in comics. Like that's just whatever the author wants to happen happens, and and I love it.
It's just a bunch of chaos thrown together, like these
Just
random
chaos.
people.
Yeah, it's an ensemble cast. So basically, everyone is the main character.
That's great, man, and that's what's awesome about indie works. It's just you get the actual chaos that the author intended from the get go. Whereas Marvel and DC and some of the big companies out there, they water it down and they try to stretch out these stories, but like we just come up with the craziest shit we can and just put it on paper, and we're like, this is awesome, I love it, this came out of my head. What do you think of it? And people either love it or hate it.
Yeah. And just sometimes when you're up against the establishment, you got to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
That's right. So you mentioned that High Treason League isn't the only work that you had in mind. Have you started writing any of the other ones that you were thinking about, or is it something that's still kind of an idea that's lingering out there?
I am, as a writer, the way I am in everything else in life, which is to say I procrastinate. I don't write stuff ahead of time. I have a plan in my head for where I want to go, and then I write out the issue and send it to the artist. But I definitely have several plans for story ideas, and it's getting to the point where I'm just like, God, I hope I don't come up with any more ideas. I already have too many. I need to get these out before I die. I've only got so many years, But
I hear you, man. You weed out what's important and you just go at it, and you write. And that's the thing about writing. That's the best part. Is not writing to impress others, but writing what is good to you and finishing that story that you really want to tell yourself and getting it done. Just like was in on Anytime. This is my favorite story. This is what I wanted to start with. I have a bajillion ideas in my head that rattle around constantly that are like, hey, this is really good, but I need to concentrate on Zoom on Anytime because this is a story that matters to me. And it's great. Absolutely. Because you can write it down, you can do it, and if it makes you happy, that's the most important thing. And then it's like trying to get it out there and tell everyone else how awesome it is. That's the hard part.
Absolutely, yeah. Like there's so much stuff that I've had to kind of let go because it's like that's a cool idea, but that
your heart's not in it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I keep it narrowed down to a select few, but even at a select few, it's like, man, I really got to get moving on this shit, right? Because there are some stories that need to be told, and I'm starting off with this one, but there are others that are, I think, definitely could also be like absolute classics. Just gotta, get around to making them, and get around to making them. It's not as though I'm putting it off. It's more that comic books are not cheap. So
no. I mean, you got especially like with you had the artist do all of it, but a lot of times you have the artist, you got the flatter, you got the letterer, you've got the editor. Which I mean, luckily you edit. So, you edited most of your own book. I mean, of course, you let somebody else read it, and they told you that you missed that you. Don't worry, I'm not going to let that go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get it, and I'm just gonna look for that you, and I'm gonna circle it. And when I see you at a con, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna have you sign it right there. Be like, he found the you,
yeah,
and then have you sign it.
that's the one. You got it.
That's the one.
That's I could make that into the thing. If cons ever start back up,
Oh, they're back up, man.
Because I decided, I'm like, okay, because I never really went to cons. I went to a couple. I went to Emerald City Comic Con one time, but I was like searching on the internet. I'm like, okay, where are the cons? And I'm like looking at the list. Postponed, canceled, postponed. Like, oh god.
Yeah, well, South Carolina. I think it was South Carolina Con was just this weekend, and then last weekend they had the something in Toy Expo in Alabama. I think it was in Huntsville. It was the Huntsville Comic and Toy Expo or something like that. And then what date? I wrote it right here. I'll make it easy. Planet Comic Con's August 20th, 21st, and 22nd in Kansas City. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's been, fired up, and they're getting going, and they've been having them, and things have been going fine. So I'm thinking probably by the end of summer, stuff will be going again. With the exception,
if you've got like a place where all these, a place where they keep track of these things, and you can let me know where when and where they're happening. Send it to me. I would love to go out and sell some books.
Yeah, man, I miss the cons, and that's what sucks is this year C2E2 is in December, and I'm like, there's no way in hell I am going to Chicago in December with two toddlers and having to pack all of the freaking summer and winter clothes, because I don't know how bad it gets up there, but like in our winter time, we go from like 20-degree mornings to like 85, 90-degree afternoons. Like for instance, yesterday it was 85 degrees here. It's 26 degrees here right now. We had snow today. So I spent all day at the hospital today. I had a bunch of tests done. And yesterday I was like, it's supposed to snow tomorrow. There's no way in hell it's going to snow. It's 85 degrees right now. Now, granted, I've lived here all my life, so I should have known better, because this is how Missouri works. And so today we left the house this morning at like 8 o'clock, and it was like 60. It was like 50, 60 degrees. By the time we got up there, it was already down to like 45 degrees. And then I think by noon it was down to like right at 40. And I walk out and it's just snowing like crazy. I'm like, where did this come? Like, they were right. And so we're on our way back. And of course there's an accident. So we sit in 44 for like an hour and a half.
Of course.
And while we're sitting there, well, of all things, this is the funniest thing ever. Here I am thinking, and it's not funny, but it's funny because here I am thinking, oh yeah, it snowed. So some jack-off was driving like an idiot and hit the wall. No, it was a truck fire. Our truck just caught on fire. Like, I'm like, it's 40 degrees outside. It's snowing and raining its ass off. How does a truck catch on fire? But they closed the entire
Skynet, man. I'm telling you.
Skynet. Yeah, they
he took over the black box or whatever it is and made the truck catch on fire.
So we got stuck in that. So I almost missed my appointment in Washington. I was so aggravated, and like it's just snowing like crazy. And I'm like, how insane is that? So I'm like December in Chicago, and it's on the Great Lake. I'm like, I don't even want to be up there if it snows. I don't even want to be up there when it doesn't snow because the traffic is insane. I went in 19, and it was insane, man. You're in the middle lane, and there's two right lanes, and there's two left lanes, and you get a green light, and you go straight, and you got a guy in the far right turn lane makes a left in front of you, and you're like, what are you doing, dude? Do you not understand how streets work? So, yeah. So I can only imagine what it's like in the wintertime. I'm like, so yeah, December, I don't think I'm going to make it. But there's a lot of stuff going on.
That truck catching on fire reminds me of a story. So, actually, I need to use the bathroom and grab another beer. But when I come back, how about I tell you the story of the most interesting first day of work I've ever had?
Oh, that sounds great.
All right. I'll be right back. Just 1 second.
Okay. So, whoops, wrong one. Wait a minute. Exit solo layout. Let's put it on me. Solo layout. So, everybody that's here watching, I'm going to show you off the beautiful cards that I got in while he's grabbing that. Hold on just a second. I got them right behind me. I'm going to show you the cards that came in yesterday since I didn't get to do an unboxing. Oh, as I almost ripped the headset out of my phone. So the Andre Osh cards turned out absolutely gorgeous. Look at this bad boy right here. These turned out freaking beautiful. And then, of course, I decided to go ahead and go with the glitter cards because I love the way they looked. So everybody will be getting the glitter version of the Explode Member Stuff Pool card. Look at that beauty right there. Oh, yeah. And the April Grady one turned out beautiful as well. This one turned out awesome. This was the only one I hadn't seen on a blank. Or not on a blank, I'm sorry, a mock-up. But the April Grady metal cards turned out freaking beautiful. Sorry, guys, I know there's a glare. Nope, that made it worse. There we go. And last but not least, the card in question. When Worlds Collide, you've got the Steph Wilson and the Ruben Rosas card. So these turned out beautiful. So I got all these cards in yesterday, all 400 of them, because I ordered extras just in case we had damages and whatnot, plus comps for the artists as well. So I was excited to get these in. Things are starting to slowly make their way in. And as an update for the digital copy, we'll be expecting that in the next few days. I actually was working on that before the show tonight. Yeah, that was me wanting to throw my computer across the room before I got on here tonight because it's giving me troubles. But you know how file types start give you trouble. Hold on, let's see here. Exit solo layout, and we're back. Oh, look at that! I was just showing off some art cards. I got these in yesterday, so they turned out freaking phenomenal.
Excellent. Oh, I love the sheen.
I know, man. Gotta love metal. Metal.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually surprised. I was like, man, 400 art cards. That's probably gonna be like a 10-pound box. I picked it up. I was like, oh, that's not that bad. Until you like carry them in a stack in your hand, and you're like, oh yeah, these are kind of heavy. Dude, I carried them all down last night in one single stack. I'm like, why the hell, when they're in one stack in my hand, do they feel like they weigh like 10 pounds? But in the box, I was just like, oh, I almost threw the box thinking it was heavy.
I don't know. Weight distribution.
Distribution's got to be what it is. All right, so let's hear this interesting first day at work.
Okay, so this is from back when I was in college. Just wanted to have a summer job, so I went back to my old high school to sod the soccer field. Now, rain had fallen very recently. The soccer field was quite muddy, as was the hill leading from the parking lot down to the soccer field, because my high school was in the Appalachian Mountains, and there are lots of hills all over the place, and nothing is even. So, we have these. There are these two forklifts. All right, they're bringing sod up and down the hill. One of them is a real forklift, and the other one is the kind that you carry on the back of a truck. A lightweight forklift. Lightweight forklift gets stuck in the mud coming down the hill. All right, well, let's go. We gotta pull this out. So me and the guys go. We push on it, and as we're doing this, down comes the real forklift. And starts slipping on the mud and right off the edge of the road. Now it's stuck.
See, so you got the lightweight forklift and the real forklift. They're both now stuck.
Yeah,
I'm guessing on opposite sides of the road too, right?
It was on the same side of the road. They had the courtesy to get stuck on the same side of the road. So
well, that's good.
Yeah. So we managed to get the light forklift out because it's a light forklift. The heavy forklift, we cannot budge this thing. We got like 5 of our biggest guys on it. And I'm not like, you probably can't see on camera, but I'm not a small dude. I'm 6'7". And we are just shoving on this thing and it will not budge. So the school maintenance team brings a pickup truck to tow this thing out. And they tie it up, they tow it back up the hill, and we go back to laying sod. And by the way, the sod, I don't know why they thought laying sod in these in these circumstances was a good idea, because the mud was horrible, and the sod was like getting in the tire treads from the forklift, and it was all warped, and this was not appropriate for a soccer field by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know how they ever played soccer on this damn field. But anyway, we start to see like smoke coming up over the treetops from where like the parking lot at the top of the hill is. And I'm like, well, that's weird. We just sort of mosey on up the hill to see what's going on. The truck that towed the forklift up the hill has now caught fire. It's just burning. So that's that we decided to like hide behind the engine block of another vehicle, see if the thing blew up, and the fire department came and sorted it out. But yeah, that was my first day of work on my summer sodding job.
You got to watch the school pickup truck catch on fire.
Yes.
The school maintenance pickup truck.
We got 2 forklifts stuck and a truck caught fire. So yeah, that's how that went.
Okay, Andre, you're here now. Look at that. Who did that? Yeah. See, they turned out beautiful, bud. Sorry. Andre's here, so I had to show him off. He hasn't seen him outside of a picture yet. Not that a video is much different, but man, they're just so much better in real life. It's like, oh, these metal cards are beautiful. Awesome. So yeah, it's hilarious, man. I got so many crazy stories about shit blowing up and catching on fire. Like, and it's so sad in real life. It's like you get so attuned to like watching movies and playing video games, and like you shoot a car 5 times and it blows up. That's dirty. And so like in real life, when a car catches on fire, you're like all bracing for impact, ready for the explosion, and it's just like it just turns into like huge flames. But I tell you what, man, the craziest story that I have like recent happened about 6 months ago. I'm driving down the road on 64 from St. Louis out towards Troy, Missouri. And so I'm going from like the city out to the sticks. Well, I get like right at the midway point where Chesterfield Bottoms is, and there's like an airport and stuff there. It's not like huge like St. Louis, but it's getting there. It's getting really built up. And I get like probably 5 miles from Boone's Crossing, which is right where Chesterfield Bottom starts, and traffic stopped. And I'm probably the 8th or 9th car back on what happened is somehow a dump truck decided to come off the on-ramp way too fast, tried to get over, I guess, and cut somebody off to try to get around the person that was in front of them, and laid it over and like sliced it in half from the bed of the dump truck down the cab. Wow. Well, anyway, it caught on fire. And so the guys got the door flipped open. Like, it had to have just happened as I rolled up, because you come up over a hill right before where all this happened. So right as I rolled up, I mean, this all had just happened. And the guy's got the door on the passenger side open. Of course, he laid it over on the driver's side. And he's trying to climb out. And there's a couple of people running over to go help him. And as he's holding the door, because, I mean, it's on fire. Just fire's raging on it. He's holding the door with a safety vest, like one of those fluorescent vests, and trying to climb out. As these people are walking over. Like, it's the first time I've ever seen a vehicle actually explode. I guess as the diesel fuel was trickling out, it finally made its way up the vapors into the tank. And it blew the tank apart. And I have never seen it in my entire life except for that one time. And it was like molten lava bouncing across the road. And I'm like, I got to get the hell out of here because I drive a tinker truck, with like 2,000 gallons of oil in the back of it. And here's this diesel
something
fuel.
goes wrong there. You gonna go boom, boy.
Yeah, so I'm like, and I went around and man, you should have seen there was like 5 cops that jumped out of their car that had those little bitty fire extinguishers. I'm like, I don't know what you're gonna do with that. Because I mean, you figure those 5-pound extinguishers is what the minimum law requires you to carry. All fire extinguishers, just so everybody knows, now you're going to get a lesson on fire extinguishers. They're a second per pound. So a 5-pound fire extinguisher, which like your regular kitchen one's a 2.5 pounds. So that gives you an idea that you have 2.5 seconds worth of fire putting out capability. So you had these guys running at it with like 5-pound extinguishers. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do about that. But luckily the guy made it out, and I seen it on the news later because, of course, I was going to a stop right up the road there in Chesterfield Bottoms to the Ford dealership. And they're like, I was like, man, did you guys see that explosion up the road? They're like, yeah, what the hell happened? I was like, I was right behind it. Like, this guy's trying to climb out of the dump truck and the fucking fuel tank exploded and it was bouncing across. Like, it was the craziest thing ever. Like, it was literally like molten glass. It just like pooled and it bounced. It was the weirdest thing ever. It was pretty cool. It wasn't cool, the situation. The guy made it out okay. Outside of that, it was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I get what you're saying. Like, at some point, like you're sort of sitting there like, this is a terrible situation for this person. But at some point, that inner 5-year-old has to take over. It's like,
dude, that was awesome.
Shit blowing up. That's so cool.
The first thing that came to my mind is like, it is like a video game that can happen. Because like I've seen vehicles catch on fire all the time. Like today, there's a truck that caught on fire, and you just see crazy stuff. People be driving down the road and like they'll have blown tire. And this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, how can you drive down the road with a blown tire and not know that your tire is blown? And it's all the way down on the rim, and the rim at 70 miles an hour on concrete is going to be sparking. Well,
I actually had that happen in my my Toyota Highlander. I guess the I guess like the ride is so smooth. They've gotten it so smooth to the point where like I noticed that something was a little weird, but I live on top of a mountain, so I was on like this windy road. I couldn't have pulled over if I wanted to anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, something seems a little weird, but I never would have guessed that my tire had just like gone completely flat. I got a nail in there. It was still like a really smooth and easy ride, and I only like really notice when I'm going around like these U-turns that I gotta go all around. So I guess that the shock absorber technology has just gotten to the point where.
No, I mean there was no tire left. So like here, let's back it up. So I'm driving on the road. I'm coming back from Hannibal down 64 once again. It's something about 64, the highway. Shit's always blowing up and catching on fire. So like I'm coming down 64 from Hannibal. There's nothing. Like it's all farmland out there. Like literally you drive 50 miles before you see a gas station. And then you don't see a gas station again until you hit Troy, which is like another 50 or 60 miles. So I'm driving down the road and all of a sudden I'm looking over. I'm like, is the shoulder on fire? And I'm looking closer and sure as shit, the shoulder's on fire. And like there's spots where it's burnt and you can see it's black. And then there's spots where it's still on fire and it's kind of moving a little bit. And I'm like, that's weird. I was like, I guess somebody threw a cigarette out the road. So I keep going and I come up over a hill and I start coming down the hill and I start seeing like it's really on fire. And I'm like, what the hell? I've drove like 4 miles and like the shoulder's on fire for like 4 miles. How does that happen? Like I was totally mind boggled. So I'm in the passing lane, in my bulk truck, just like looking at the shoulder, like what the fuck? There's nobody else on the highway, like hardly at all. There's never like bumper to bumper traffic. It's just wide open, straight. There's a few corners. Well, I get up like probably about another mile and I start catching up to this truck and this trailer. And this guy's got both duals, like both sets of duals on one side are completely blown. The one tire blew, it shredded the tire off. The rim was dragging on the ground. The heat from that blew all 3 of the other tires and blew them off. And the sparks from that were hitting the shoulder and catching the shoulder on fire as he's driving down the road. And I'm like, and his trailer's just bouncing like crazy, and the rear end of the truck's doing this. And I'm like, I get up to it, I'm like, I hit the horn, and the guy's looking at me like, what? And I'm like, look back there. And he looks back, and he's like, oh shit, and he pulls off on the side of the road. And I mean, there's just smoke pouring off of the freaking rims. It like literally was starting to catch the wood on the trailer deck on fire. And I'm like, you know, do people not ever look in their mirrors as they're driving down the road? Like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen.
I was about to say, like, I mean, I'm not a trucker, and I guess you are, but I've been under the impression that mirrors are exceptionally important when you're driving a rig.
They're exceptionally important. Like the tow truck driver, like this is no joke. 44 today, where that was shut down, and that truck burned to the ground. They shut the highway down. We were coming back from something. This has been like probably 10 years ago, but we're driving on the road, and my wife was with me, and I was like, that's weird. That tow truck's smoking. And I guess he noticed it, and he pulls off on the shoulder there in Eureka. And we're probably, I want to say, you know, a quarter of a mile behind him, but it wasn't a lot of smoke, but there was a little bit. Well, what happened is the car had a gas leak, and the guy had been smoking. And so the cigarette landed on the trailer, and it caught the little bit of gas on the underneath on fire. So as the gas was falling out, the heat from that was vaporizing it. When he stopped and pulled off on the side of the road, it was like a bomb went off. It went and shot up the sides of it. I was like, holy shit, that was awesome. Yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff, man. It's been insane. How in the hell did we get talking about cars blowing up? Oh, yeah, that's right. Your first job. Your first job experience.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Reel it in. But no, man, there's nothing better than blowing up stuff, man.
We gotta get back to reasonable things, like instead of trucks catching fire, characters with fire powers.
Fire powers,
like right. Trell from High Treason League, who has fire-based abilities.
Oh, sweet! Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, actually, now this is getting into slight spoiler territory, so only the people who see this stream will be in the know about future events.
Spoiler alert.
All right. So the magic system for High Treason League is called Vitos, and it's basically, you know, it's life force. It's kind of like ki, but it's not really ki. It works in a different way. It's not Dragon Ball Z. Nobody is going to be Kamehamehaing anybody. There aren't power blasts.
So they're not going Super Saiyan or anything like that.
No.
Not hitting power level 9,000.
Vitos is all about taking life itself and bringing it to its extreme. So, you know, one of the disciplines of Vitos is called shaping, and it's about taking something and shaping it with life force. And, you know, one of the most common applications of this is to make your muscles bigger, right? It's, you know, a pretty straightforward thing. There's channeling, which is all about the motion of life. And, you know, one of the most common applications of this is martial arts. You know, and it gets more complicated with time. But you know, these are the basics. But no living thing produces fire. The reason that Trell has sort of fire-like abilities is, you know, living things can produce kinetic energy. They can produce heat. They can produce light, you know, like a firefly, for example. And when you are using Vitos poorly, you produce all of these things at once, and it's horribly inefficient, and it kind of resembles fire. It's called Novice's Flame. So using some quote-unquote fire with Vitos is horribly inefficient and bad, and you should never do it, which is why nobody except Trell does it. The problem is that Trell basically has a disability. Like he has an immense amount of Vitos, but he can't control it properly because, you know, it's like trying to force, you know, 20 20 pounds of water through a 5 pound a hose that's rated for 5 pounds. It's just gonna blow up everywhere. So he that's why he has sort of fire-like abilities. It's not real fire. It's just basically he has a ton of power that he can't control, and he and it manifests in this way. But he just has so much of it that he can be inefficient with it and still kind of like, stay in the fight. And it's not like he has so much of it that he's just overpowering people. He's still like barely hanging in. Even in this first issue, in his fight against Vanis, who's sort of like a low level member of an enemy high treason league. He's still, kind of struggling. Like he's going toe to toe with him, but he's not like absolutely kicking his ass or anything. But he's powerful enough at generation, which is the Vitos ability to create Vitos, that he can sort of hang with people who don't have his weird disability. And that allows him to stay in the fight, even though he can't control what he's doing as well as most people can.
That's crazy. So he has a disability that he creates too much of this force, but it causes him to do something that's super inefficient, but it allows him to stay in the fight because he generates too much, and because he generates too much, he's able to create fire. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So through a disability, he has a power that he can use that no one else can use because it's too inefficient for their power capability, basically.
Absolutely, yeah. He's, he's basically jamming too much force through his body, and he can't stop jamming too much force through his body. But it's enough that even though he's wasting power all over the place, he's got enough of it that he's just sort of able to hang in there,
So he's the one that comes in. Sorry, excuse me. He's the one that comes in, guns place, and just like blows the place up. And he's like, "Whoops, sorry guys, I didn't mean to do that."
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds like him. Yeah,
that's great.
And then on the other hand, Kaya, who's the female lead, she has her abilities are perfectly in control. She just doesn't know what to do with them because the people in charge of her have made very sure that she doesn't know how to fight. That's quite important for them because she's actually she's physically the strongest character of all of them, at least for now. Maybe later down the line you might come across someone who's more powerful, but right now she's the strongest person. It's just like, it doesn't matter how hard you can punch if you don't know how to actually hit someone, right?
That's right.
So
they keep her inexperienced just so that she doesn't join the fight and overtake them, which is, a smart tactical move.
Precisely.
Keep the poor even in their fighting.
Yeah, they keep her around because she's really useful as like a grunt worker. These flowers that she's harvesting dirigium gas from, which for those who weren't there at the beginning of the show, dirigium gas has healing capabilities. It's very expensive, and it generates a lot of wealth for the people who are in charge. These things are like 50, 100 feet in the air. And she's so strong that she can just jump up and harvest the healing gas from them. No problem. So they keep her around because she's a good worker. Like the other people who are there can't do that. They're all just normal Joes like you and me. but they don't want her to learn how to fight because she's so strong that if she could actually, fight properly, she would completely devastate the Baron who's in charge and kick his ass.
Which may or may not happen in the future. And so we kind of already covered this question earlier. These are some of the questions that Ryan had at the start of the show. So he asked how you came up with the idea for High Treason. Let's see. He also asked, what's your favorite movie or TV series?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is my favorite TV series. And favorite movie? I don't know. My favorite movie changes pretty regularly as I see new ones. I actually recently saw Smokey and the Bandit for the first time, and that one I'm like, where has this been my whole life? That was awesome. I need more movies that are just feature-length car chases. I don't know where that genre has gone, but it needs to come back.
Any other favorites that you have besides Smokey and the Bandit?
Favorite movie? I mean, I'm probably the best movie for my money. The best movies ever made are the Lord of the Rings movies. The best. I don't know. I'm sure that some movie snob is going to be like, oh, but Alfred Hitchcock and Citizen Kane. But Lord of the Rings, come on, man. It's so good. It's so good.
Andre said Fast and the Furious, son.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't watched as much Fast and the Furious as I should have.
Well, I'll tell you, man. I just seen the preview for 9 last night, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not too impressed.
Once a series gets up to 9 movies, I think it's probably pretty well done.
Yeah, I think
Stick
it was
a
done
fork
like
in it.
I think it was done like 2 movies ago, but 9 does not look. They brought in John Cena, and I think that he's supposed to be the son of The Rock, and it doesn't look very good. I
don't know what it is about John Cena. I've never had anything in my life that has made me dislike John Cena, but I feel like he is just the kiss of death for any franchise he's a part of. I don't know why. He has the reverse Midas touch.
I don't know. He was pretty funny in 21 Jump Street.
I didn't see that. Maybe I'll need to check that out.
Or that's Channing Tatum. Wrong movie. My brain just farted out on me. That's Channing Tatum. My bad. Don't worry, everybody. I backed it up.
And that means that nobody can clip it out of context.
That's right. Well, I mean, here's the thing, man. Maybe it is that bad that I can't think of any movie that he's been in. Only I have to think of a Channing Tatum movie. Yeah, they look alike. Exactly. So, like, maybe I have this misconception that, like, all these John Cena movies I've seen have been good because it's actually Channing Tatum. Whoops. Oh, man, that John Cena movie I seen the other night was really good. Well, what was it called? 21 Jump Street? That's Channing Tatum, you dumbass. Oh, it is? Wait a minute. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, they do look a lot alike. There's the one movie that he was in. There's one movie that he was in that was really good, and I can't think of what it is. It was called The Marine or something like that, where they kidnap his wife, and he goes completely apeshit crazy on this car chase in this badass car, blows up a gas station. As you can tell, the memorable parts for me were the car chase, the badass car, and the explosions. I mean, that's what it's all about.
I mean, that sounds awesome. But yeah, I don't know why they even bother trying to put John Cena on film. You can't see him.
You can't see me. So I take it you like wrestling?
No, I want to like wrestling. I wish I could like wrestling. I've tried to like wrestling. The problem is that every time I watch wrestling, it's like, it's not the fact that the fights are fake that's the issue for me. I know everybody knows the fights are fake, and that's not a sticking point for most people. It's the fact that they look fake. They can be fake, but I want them to look real. Like, I don't know. I at some point when a guy is just like sort of lethargically grabbing another dude by the hair and slowly walking him into position so that he can perform a move, I'm just like, why is the guy not doing anything about this? Like,
well, I think it's more modern day wrestling. You know, back when I was a kid, wrestling was awesome, man. I used to love going to when I go to my grandparents' house. There was always several things I knew that was going to happen. One, we were watching old school Star Trek and the Hulk, and you know, the Human Fly and whatever, you know, crazy old films my grandpa had on. And we were watching Cardinals baseball, and we were watching wrestling. And man, old school wrestling was awesome. All that and monster trucks too. He was real big into monster trucks.
Maybe the sticking point, maybe the problem that I'm having is like whenever I'm like, you know, maybe I should try to get into wrestling, and I like go on to the YouTubes and I'm searching in the search bar. Of course, the first thing that ever comes up is like, this is a fight with Roman Reigns, and I might not know anything about wrestling, but I know that Roman Reigns is lame. But I you know, click on that. I'm like, wow, this fight is lame. So I'm like, well, never mind. I guess this wasn't.
Never mind, I'm out. So one last question I want to ask you, and then I think we should call it a night. What are some of the other hobbies that you have that you're into besides, you know, writing, editing, and stuff like that? What do you enjoy doing?
Oh, I'm big into karaoke. I love doing karaoke.
That was like the most far from thing that I just ever even imagined you to say.
Oh, I love it.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. It was like it totally caught me off guard.
Yeah, no, I do karaoke every week. People tell me I'm pretty good at it, so. I'll sing. You want me to sing? All right. I guess don't have like a backing track or anything, but I guess I could try a cappella here. Let me try to back away from the mic because I tend to be a bit of a belter. So, I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. Well, I had $1 million, but I spent it all. If I could find that Hannah and that Sancho that she's found, well, I'd pop a cap in Sancho and I'd slap her down. What I really want to know, my baby, who? What I really want to say, I can't define. Well, it's love that I need. Oh, my soul will have to wait.
Can you tell that Andre's Canadian? He says, "Do my heart goes on." My heart will go on. You know, Celine Dion. What is up with you people in Canada and Celine Dion? Get out of here.
Always Celine Dion. I don't know. I've never sang that one. I've never had the balls to try that one.
Yeah, you ever want to offend a Canadian, tell him you hate Celine Dion. I mean, that's the one thing you've got
the only part I even know of that song is like, and I that's it. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's because it's in all those memes and stuff. Well, cool, man. I really appreciate you being on tonight and chatting it up and telling crazy stories and talking about High Treason League. And I'm really interested to see where this goes. And as you said earlier, for those of you that weren't on here, it will be available in print on demand. And as soon as that's available, well, we'll be letting everyone know about that. And Absolutely. That's the bodyguard theme. You know what? I haven't ever seen that. I haven't seen and then what's the new one that's coming out? The bodyguard's wife, whatever it's called. Yeah, I need to see that. But I just totally derailed. Well, but anyway, for right now, it's available on Comixology. Hopefully that is still in here. And no, it's not. I'll have to pull that up while you're telling everybody. But Webb, I'm going to give you the full screen. I'm going to give you a chance to give everyone the elevator pitch for High Treason League and where they can find you.
All right. Well, High Treason League is the awesome story of a world where people can win positions of nobility or even royalty by winning fights with the people who currently hold those positions. So, the strongest get the power. And it follows the story of Kaya, a cute and incredibly strong girl, and Trell, a hot-headed guy who's a powerful warrior, as they battle their way through this this world and try to secure a better position for themselves and the people they love, while meeting all sorts of cool friends along the way. If you want to follow me, I can be found at Hopcrop. That's HOPCROP on Twitter. Be sure to follow and be sure to buy High Treason League on Comixology, and eventually it will be made available for print on demand on any Indie Planet. I don't know when. They seem to be rather slow. But hopefully that will be happening soon, and I'll be letting everyone know. So give me a follow, and I think you will like what you see.
And yes, I see what you did there, Andre. You were talking about the original Bodyguard, not what I'm thinking of. I was thinking of it's the Hitman's Bodyguard. Hitman's Bodyguard 2 is coming out. It's like the Hitman's girlfriend's bodyguard or something like that. So I've been wanting to check that out. I heard it's really good. So nobody spoil it for me. I'm going to check that out. But yes, he was talking about the Costner and Houston one. My bad. My brain's not in thinking of old movies tonight. But yeah, thanks so much for being on here tonight, Webb. I really appreciate it. Everyone, please go check out High Treason League. Give it a like. If you read it, please leave feedback. That's one of the biggest things that I like to try to tell everybody. Leave a review. Give them some feedback. Let them know what you liked, what you didn't like. Because what you didn't like is what's important, because we want to make you happy and we want to create awesome stories at the same time. So without that feedback, we cannot make awesome stories that make you happy, because you'll always not like them because you never say anything. But with that being said, Webb, thanks so much again for being here tonight. I'm going to kick you to the back room for a minute. If you want to hang out for a second, I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Whoa, wrong person. What in the heck? I fat-fingered it. My computer, I was on something else, and yeah, it happens. There we go. Look at that. I figured out how to freaking work it. Thanks for being here tonight, Andre, and everyone else. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. For those of you who watched tonight, I appreciate you. For those of you who come back and watch this later on, I appreciate you as well. Definitely check out this book. Check out High Treason League. Let us know what you think about it. Let him know what you think. And give him a follow at his Twitter link. It is available in the description. If you didn't catch that, all these links for the Comixology that are not only in the comments are also in the description, as well as his Twitter link, as well as the links to the fabulous sponsors of this show and their upcoming projects. So everyone, please check all those out. Please follow up with these creators that are on here and check out their work and let them know what you think about it. So without further ado, on Sunday, I couldn't really find anybody else cool to be on, so we have a filler guest. I think his name's Phil Russert. I don't know who he is, some B-level guy or something like that, but just kidding. Hopefully Philip sees this and gives me some trouble about it. If not, somebody tag Steph Wilson so he can see it. But everyone, as always, Rust Explode Studios, projects that'll blow your mind. You guys have a great night and a great rest of the week.